The town of Pine Hollow was the kind of place where everyone knew each other by name. Life moved slowly there, nestled in the foothills of the mountains, surrounded by dense pine forests and snow-dusted peaks. News didn't often travel fast, but when it did, it clung to every porch swing and diner counter like frost on the window panes. It all started with Mara Jensen, a young woman no older than 30, with eyes like quiet storm clouds and a strength that had held her family together longer than most knew. She had moved to Pine Hollow 5 years ago, married to a kind-hearted logger named Tommy Jensen, and together they had carved out a quiet life with 2 little ones, a boy and a girl, both under 5. But cancer doesn't care about young mothers or perfect families. When Mara got the diagnosis, she hid it at first. It was stage 4. She didn't want pity, didn't want people bringing over casseroles and sad eyes. But as the illness progressed, her frame shrinking, her smile dimming, the truth became impossible to hide. She made one final trip into town, wrapped in her wool coat, walking slower than ever. That's when she went to see him, Elias Boone, the so-called mountain man. Elias Boone was a mystery to most. He lived high up the mountain in a weather-beaten cabin with no electricity, no phone, and only came down once a month for supplies. A man in his 60s, he had a long white beard, skin like old leather, and a quiet way about him that made even the loudest folk speak soft in his presence. Some said he'd once been a soldier. Others whispered he'd lost his whole family in a fire and never spoke a word about it since. Kids dared each other to run up the trail toward his cabin and knock on the door. Most turned back before they got close. But Mara didn't. She walked the 3 miles up the hill, alone, breath short and legs trembling. He found her sitting on the porch, coughing into a handkerchief stained red. Without a word, Elias handed her a blanket, sat beside her, and waited. "I'm dying," she said after a long silence. "I figured," he replied. Mara told him everything. About her kids, her fear, the nights she cried into her pillow so the children wouldn't hear, the dreams she'd had for them, graduations, weddings, a life she wouldn't live to see. "I want to ask you something," she said, voice trembling. "I don't want them to forget me. I want them to grow up strong, knowing where they came from. If it's not too much, would you name them after me?" Elias looked at her for a long time. His eyes weren't cold, just ancient, like they'd seen too many endings. "You mean change their names?" "No," she said, shaking her head. "I mean, help raise them. When I'm gone, make sure they remember who I was. That I mattered. That they mattered to me. That someone cared enough to tell them." Elias didn't say yes. He didn't have to. He simply nodded once and stood. The town didn't hear about the visit until later. What they did hear was this. A week after Mara passed, Elias Boone came down the mountain with 2 small children, one in each arm. The sight of the old mountain man walking into town with the Jensen children shocked everyone. For decades, Elias had been a ghost, a shadow in the trees. Now here he was, standing in the middle of Main Street with tear-streaked cheeks and a voice that broke when he spoke. "I made a promise," he said, to their mother. "I'm keeping it." No one knew what to say. Sheriff Doolin stepped forward, hat in hand. "You're saying she asked you to take them?" Elias nodded. The town buzzed for days. Some were skeptical. What business did an old recluse have raising 2 kids? But then people started to remember. Elias had once been a teacher. Years ago, he had lost a wife and son in a house fire, just as the rumors said. That's why he left it all, not out of bitterness, but grief. Slowly, Pine Hollow rallied around him. Miss Angie from the cafe brought over baby clothes. Old Joe from the hardware store built cribs from scratch. The mayor arranged for social services to approve temporary guardianship. But the real change came when Elias spoke. At the Harvest Festival, standing on the small wooden stage, holding Mara's children in his arms, he told the town what she had asked him to do. His voice cracked when he repeated her last words. "I won't see them grow up. Name them after me." Not their names, he explained, but their memories, their spirit. She wanted them to grow up knowing her, through the stories we tell, the values we pass down, the love we show. "I can't replace their mother, but I can make sure they remember her. And if you knew Mara, you'd know why I said yes." The crowd was silent. Then came the tears. Then came the applause. Years passed. Elias raised those children as if they were his own. He taught them how to fish in the stream, how to read by candlelight, how to find meaning in the smallest things. But more importantly, he told them about Mara every day. Her laugh, her courage, the way she made pancakes shaped like bears. And every time someone in Pine Hollow saw them, they'd say, There goes Mara's kids, strong, kind, just like their mom. All because one woman asked for a promise. And one man, broken and buried by loss, decided to honor it, and in doing so, he healed not just a family, but an entire town.